Yeah. It's BW.
The Inward Nine.
Hey, cooler than the Tampa breeze. We be doing things that you can't believe. What the people demand is me. Wonder Corp, ESTVPG, my G. I float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Cold as Anderson, Silver talk shit like Ali. He asked if I'm the best in Tampa, yeah, nigga, probably. And ain't know about the repercussions if they try to rob me. Yeah, the world is steady.
Welcome back to the Inward Nine, a fantasy golf metrics production. My name is Jeff Ulrich, and we are going to talk about WGC Mexico, do a quick recap of that, and then we'll move right on to the Valspar Championships. Tiger's back in the field. This actually has one of the best fields that probably this tournament has ever seen, so it's going to be a good tournament this week. It should really just be a good run-up to the Masters from here on out, but let's start with WGC Mexico. I mean, it was an insane final round, tons of drama. Justin Thomas holing out on the last hole. Stephen Richter, Fantasy Golf Metrics co-founder, what did you think of that final round? Were you pumped? Did you watch it? Were you just following along Shot Tracker? What was going on?
I mean, like the name of the show, I generally tune in around the Inward Nine, so I don't chime in too early because we have a lot of action, so I don't want to get too excited. I don't want to get too involved, too emotionally invested early. So I let it kind of come to me, and then as it gets exciting and down to the nitty gritty, that's when I join it. But it was a lot of fun, man. I mean, just watching on the Shot Tracker app, just seeing what was going on, and then just the back and forth. I mean, people all over the place. Obviously, Sharma didn't take it home, which I don't think anyone really expected him to go almost wire to wire. But really a great job for the young Indian player. I mean, like you said, it was just a phenomenal event. The players always loved that course, and they went at it all weekend. It was great.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's turning into a pretty good event. I mean, I wasn't really sold in the last year with some people skipping. Some people skipped it this year too, but the course is pretty cool. I mean, the tightness really it brings like almost bad numbers into play on almost every hole, which is kind of cool because you can still go for the green. Like, I mean, you saw JT driving some of these. Bubba was just slinging it off the tee, but then Phil would try and he'd get in the trees, and it's kind of cool. So I'm this event's starting to grow on me a little bit. It's definitely one that I think the players are starting to rally around too, which is kind of cool. I still can't even believe that Justin Thomas holed out on the 18th. That was just nuts. I'm glad Phil won though. I mean, I liked him. I wrote him up in my DraftKings article this week too. I wrote him up for the core plays for the fantasy golf metrics. We were high on him in the survival guide too. I just, it's just one of those things. You could see it coming together. It's nice to see him put it together. I'm not a huge Phil fan, but at the same time, I've come to recognize that Phil is so talented that he's kind of a pleasure to watch. So what's your take on Phil? Have you always been a Phil guy, or you just kind of like, you respect the game, or you just kind of like, no, I have nothing?
Yeah, so I've always been a Phil guy. I mean, I'm a huge Tiger fan, but I was never one of these Tiger fans that hated Phil. Yeah, it wasn't like one.
See, I was a guy who used to hate Phil, but I came around because I recognized the talent. I mean, you can't hate him.
You have to. And, we go on these U.S. Open trips every year, and he's obviously a favorite there. I mean, the first time we saw him was at Bethpage in 2009 in person. He's been given the thumbs up for decades, tipping the cap. You always feel like it's at you. So it's a lot of fun to watch him play and play the way he does. As for this week, I mean, we were all over him. If you were in the expert chat the night before, I was on the border of sending out an email saying, hey, we're adding him to the bets, but at 18-1, it's kind of like that Tiger effect. I couldn't do it. I regretted it, but if he was like 25, 30-1, I would have been all over it. Took him for one and done. You wrote him up. We had him everywhere. He was in the first class. It was the same kind of feeling as Justin Thomas like the weeks before. We were talking about him a couple times, and then when he came up, I remember we had the one versus one. It was Mickelson or Noren, and Noren looked so good on paper from the recent results, but we were both like, you know what? I think he's slowing down, and obviously you saw that, and Phil was still on the up. So I think we were all over him. I think the analysis that we've been putting in week after week has kind of helped us pick the right trends, and it did with Phil this past week.
Yeah, no, and I mean, if you're an FGM subscriber, you're thinking about subscribing. I mean, the chats definitely help with stuff like that. I talk it through. You get a little bit of confirmation what you're thinking. I mean, I was always glad to see you were on the right page with me. So, I mean, it was just one of those things. It clicked again. It was nice to see. I was kind of the same way with the outright bets. I mean, Phil at 20-1, I was really on the fence. I put like a little parlay on him later in the week, but it wasn't much. But yeah, it would have been nice to get on free event, but it really wasn't a great price, to be honest, even though he was playing well. So can understand that. The bets did awesome though. Again, I mean, like, let's give a shout out to the FGM. I'm just going to call him the FGM computer bets from now on. He's doing a great job. Whoever's running the computer. I mean, we had Rafa, we had Xander Schauffele, we had Pat Perez, and Adam Hadwin. These guys were all in the mix all week. Obviously, Rafa ended up with a big top 5 and a top 10, and Hadwin, I think 2/3 place top 10. It would have been nice to get a win, or like Xander in top 5 too, but like, we're not going to poo-poo doubling our money here basically for the week. Also, we targeted Ricky against Ricky in the heads up with Spieth and Tommy Fleetwood, and those paid too. So, I mean, it was just another really solid week. It's always nice to have sweats. I mean, we're just going to keep doing the best to keep the ROI up, obviously. I mean, that's all we can do. But it was a good week, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, a bunch of our subscribers, you know, pretty much what you'll find on Twitter is if you join the site, and I'm pretty accessible. You can DM me, and I'll talk about anything. And it's like it's getting fun on Thursday and Friday and even into the weekend. Like, and this is like my common theme, and obviously you get it, Jeff, because we've had a pretty hot streak. Is I just send the message and I'm like, this is getting fun. Like, this is fun. Like, every single week we're sweating it. I mean, you know, we had the winner with Woodland. We had a couple weeks where we got some money back. Then we got back on with JT. It looked really strong with Rafa and Schauffele. We hit, I think we Hadwin got 2/3 of the top 10. Rafa, we got the top 5 and top 10. And like you said, you know, I'm normally not keying in on players negatively, but I couldn't deny what I was seeing from Fowler. He had one good round, but both of our head-to-heads were Fleetwood and Spieth against him, and we took that down. So I'm usually not anti-players. I'm usually just more positive, but it was a little undeniable from what I was seeing. But listen, like you said, doubling up the money. I think the ROI, you know, if you started week 1 with us, you started with 10 units. Now you have 70, 74, 73 units, you know, something like that. So it's, you know, over 640% ROI in the year. We hope to keep it running for you guys.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, like you said, I mean, it's just a fun sweat, and obviously we'll keep trying to put those out. But anything else from this week you want to keep an eye on? I mean, I got a couple players I wrote up in the Monday article. I mean, I think Bubba kind of backed up his Riviera play, which is interesting. And I mean, it's going to be interesting to see going into Augusta. I still think he's going to be kind of boom or bust there. And I don't know, man. I mean, Jordan Spieth's still not really impressing. You worried about Spieth at all? I mean, is he becoming like a guy you might fade at Augusta?
No, I'm not there yet. If you remember, I think this was somewhat similar, you know, to where he's been in the past, where it's like he's close. You know, it's not like he didn't have some stretches. There were some stretches where he went on runs. He just hasn't put it together for the whole week. And I think that's what you see from the best players in the world. I mean, we're always, you know, infatuated by this. The best player in the world doesn't mess up ever, and they just tear through it. And that's felt like JT for the most, and it's just not realistic. So I think what you see with these best players in the world, like Spieth, like DJ, like JT most of the time, although he's been pretty awesome, you know, every time. It's just you're going to get good stretches of 6 to 9 to 12 holes where they turn it on, and then maybe they fall back a little bit. So it's not that simple, guys, to put together 72 holes of flawless Tiger Woods 2000 golf. You know, that's the thing. I think people kind of expect that, and they're just not going to get it.
Yeah, you're right. Obviously, most players ain't gonna be you know, at the top of their game like that for the most part. Although JT is coming close to putting together like a little Jason Day type run here from a couple years ago, which is kind of cool to see, obviously. So. One and done stuff. I mean, obviously we got this guy we got to mention. I mean, this Leaflander fellow picked the winner again. I think, what is it, like his 4th winner out of 6 weeks he's picked?
So we're in the first quarter of the one and done. It's we're 8 events in, 2 more left until we pay out the first winner. And this guy, I don't know who he is. He can DM me on Twitter. I don't care. Email me, something like that. He goes by Leaflander. He's picked in 6 events. He's leading by like $500,000, and he has 2 missed cuts. So 4 events he's cashed in out of the 8 that we've had. He had Phil last week. He had Bubba at Riviera. He had Day at Farmers, and then he took a wild card DJ at AT&T where he finished 2nd. So he's got over $5 million in earnings from those 4 weeks and 2 missed cuts on Hideki and Fowler. So I mean, it's pretty amazing to see, because we mentioned him the last couple of weeks, and then when I was checking the one and dones, because I had Phil, so I finally got into contention. I saw him, and I'm like, no way this guy did it again. So it's really fun to watch.
So yeah, I mean, this is the guy who's going to be doing the bets for us soon if he keeps picking at this rate. I mean, he's just like taking weeks off. That's how far ahead he is, anyways. It's crazy, but yeah. I mean, one of our other members, I can't remember his name. You can shout him out, but he wanted a nice satellite on DK2 to the single entry. There's a single entry satellite online qualifier on DraftKings that you can check out. But one of our members won that, so that was kind of cool to see too.
Yeah, that was a Quake 211. He actually also had Phil in the one and done. I noted that. So he had Phil there, had a big week. He had Phil, Xander, RCB on his DraftKings lineup, won $4,000, which is a big entry for the Masters next year. He's a staple in our chats. He's a staple in our fantasy draft contest. I see him there every week. So, it's not the first time I've seen him tweet, that he's had some success with us. So anytime any of our members, put that out there, I'm real proud to have people winning.
Awesome. And just a quick reminder, too, we still have the FanDuel offer going on. If you guys want to check that out, you can just check it out. It's on the Monday article. I mentioned it off the top. It's got the link there, too. But basically, deposit $30, play through. You can get a full year's Fantasy Golf Metrics membership just by signing up for a new account. So the link is on the article. It's fanduel.com/FGM. So it's just fanduel.com/FGM. So I'll let you guys check that out if you want. But let's move on. Let's move on to the Valspar Championship, because like I mentioned off the top, this is going to be a good event this year. I mean, we got Rory in. Spieth is obviously back. But Stenson's finally making an appearance, one of my favorite players. Sergio's back, and he's in form. And then we got, a few other players. Justin Rose is here. Paul Casey's in the field. So we got a couple South Africans, Grayson Louis. So, I mean, this is going to be a good event. And this course is really underrated, in my opinion. We kind of gloss over it because it's kind of a weaker field, but this year's is a little bit stronger. Longer par 71, Copperhead course at Innisbrook, still back in Florida, so we got Bermuda greens again. I mean, some good comparisons for me are kind of like Colonial, Hilton Head, TPC Southwind, which is where the FedEx St. Jude is played. These are longer sort of par 70, par 71 courses that feature sort of long par fours, which there's a lot of on this course. This course is a little unique because it's got 5 par threes and 4 par fives, so the layout is different. But what's your take on this venue? I mean, anything that pops out about it for you?
No, I mean, I love it. I think we said it a couple weeks ago as we started at Genesis, where I feel like, the golf season really begins because of what's about to come. I mean, you have Genesis, you have Honda, you have the WGC, and then you have this week, and you just know you have a real strong stretch of events where you're only going to have a winner at like -8 to -11, and that's real golf. It's not a birdie fest. You got the best players in the world grinding it out. Anytime -9, -10 wins, and that's around the average at this course, you have a good venue. You have a good field. Definitely the strongest field that they've had here ever. I'm pretty sure that they're putting that on paper as the best field they've ever had. It's a Larry and Roger Packer design. They've built a bunch of kind of courses down in the southeast. Basically, from what I saw in the numbers, is you kind of got to do everything well ball striking wise, and then turn it on with that hot putter. And I think you've seen that in the last couple of years from winners here. I mean, Schwartzel, ball striker, got it done. Spieth was striking it well that year. Making a bunch of putts. So I don't want to say putting is most important. I didn't find that overall for general success, but like if you're going to win here, you gotta just do everything fairly well. Make sure you get up and down, and then when the time is right, get a little hot with the putter, and that's how it gets done at the 9 under, 10 under mark.
Yeah, it is. You're right. I mean, it's a course where you can't just be like striking your irons well. You have to do a lot of things. Well, Adam Hadwin was top 8 in pretty much every category: greens and regulation, up and down. Strokes gained approach, strokes gained tee to green. The only thing he wasn't top 8 in was strokes gained off the tee. I think he actually lost like 0.1 strokes for the week. So again, it's not a super long course, and there are a lot of dog legs on this course too. So I guess you don't really necessarily have to be long off the tee, but like you said, I mean, you have to be sharp. And just something else to consider here: every single winner here for the past 6 years has recorded at least one top 10 on the season in the year they won. So coming in, like in their last basically 6-7 events, they had a top 10. So recent form is something. I mean, you're not just going to come in here and turn it on. You're probably already going to be playing some pretty good golf, because that's just the type of course it is. So like I mentioned, though, it's a good course. It's a little bit underrated, in my opinion, just because we always kind of forget about this event sometimes. But it's going to be a good week. Let's do a quick look at the top here. I mean, we kind of talked about a few players already, but, I just took a quick look at the survival guide, but who do you want to start out with? Like, let's just talk about like an anchor pick or something. Say you had one lineup. Who would you take right off the top to start off with?
I think the chalk is there, but I think the increase in price might help. I don't think this is a bad chalk week to take Adam Hadwin. We've been riding him for a few weeks now. Obviously, the course history here with the win. He's probably going to be pretty popular. I think 8,800 makes him a little more expensive than people would have expected. I'm not turned off by that. If you're talking cash game, I'm very content with plugging him in and getting, a top 25 from him. I'm not sure if I would anchor a lot of GPPs there because it's expensive for a guy that's probably going to be high owned in my mind. But that's where I'd start in that range. If we're talking the higher end guys, I like Casey this week. He doesn't have great history here, but from what I'm looking at, I wrote him down and I put Casey exclamation point because I know how much you like to talk about Casey, but he's been burning you recently. That's where I would start on the high end. I mean, I can make the cases for all the other guys, but I'll let you jump in with your thoughts. But that's where I'm at. I'm at Casey Hadwin at 9,800 and 8,800.
Yeah. I mean, Casey, I wouldn't say recently. I'd say for the last 3 years of my life, Paul Casey's been burning me. But I mean, at least he's consistent for DFS, right? But no, I mean, I agree. I mean, I think Adam Hadwin, I don't even mind that he's priced up a little bit because I just feel like he's such a good fit for this course too, especially because he's ball striking well right now. And the rest of his game is usually pretty sharp anyways. So 8,800, I am actually fine paying up for that too. Let's just move into the one-on-ones because that'll move us into talking about the other players anyways. We always do a few one-on-ones and I put Steve on the spot. Again, we're talking hypothetical here. We're doing one core lineup. Who would you take? Let's start at the top. Henrik Stenson, we haven't seen yet on the PGA. He's played a couple events over in Europe. Or Sergio Garcia is coming off a pretty good week.
Well, I mean, I liked Garcia before I saw where he was in the survival guide, and that is number one overall. So, and there's a pretty good gap there. I mean, he's at 10. The next best is Spieth at 9.13. I mean, Stenson's also in the first class for us. He has really strong history here. I mean, I think he's 11th is his worst finish here from what I can see.
Look, I mean, I think this is a great course for Sergio. You hit your irons well here, and if you do that, you're really gonna. All you really need to do is just have a good, a solid week with the rest of your game. You're going to be in good shape. Sergio's 5 for 5 and made cuts here. His best finish was 7th in 2013. He hasn't played here for a bit, but like I said, I mean, I wouldn't put anyone off Sergio at this course. So I do like Stenson. He's gone 7, 11, 4 here over his last 3 visits. He's played well in Florida too. You worry a little bit because he hasn't played much recently, but he was 6th and 8th over 6 and 7 weeks ago over in Europe. If Sergio's going to be the absolute chalk, I would actually be fine taking Stenson here personally. When Stenson's on, he's on, and I just feel like this event, he's going to get revved up. So I don't mind Stenson here. He's also a little bit cheaper. So, cash games, I guess starting with Sergio's fine. If Stenson's going to be lower owned in tournaments, I'm fine taking Henrik Stenson this week. That's my take.
Yeah, it's just, I think you're probably going to get better ownership there. I mean, they're probably both going to be, listen, I'm not the expert. I would say my guess early on is that Stenson will be mid-teens and Garcia will be upper teens and then probably boost them each a little bit depending on the type of event, where Sergio is going to be maybe in the low 20s and Stenson in the upper teens. That's just my initial gut. So if I'm correct, then yeah, I think you want to go Stenson. But I think Garcia is more likely to win. I just like what I'm seeing before I even saw.
He played well enough to win last week. He just his around the green game was like brutal. I mean, like he was Ray Charles around the green. He just so if he changes that a little bit, obviously it's there. Now, I mean, if he doesn't, I mean, it's not going to work out very well. But still, obviously he's played well in Florida too. Got the win at the Players. So, like I said, I mean, I do like both of these guys. We'll wait till Bobby the Magician puts out his ownership projections later in the week. But for now, I might lean Stenson just as for a lower ownership thing. Okay, next one. Paul Casey, we already mentioned, or Justin Rose.
Yeah, Rose, I'm just not that excited about. I mean, he was playing so well over the winter and into the early season. I think a lot of people have been excited about him. I mean, it's not like he's playing poorly. I mean, he's still one of the best guys in this field. It's not even close. But I'm just not that excited. I mean, we have him ranked 131st in trend. I think that shows, although he's 18th in form, if you take the average directionally, it has not been getting better for him, heading into Augusta. So I need to see more from Rose before I consider going to 10,000 or betting, the 15-1 or whatever he is right now.
Yeah, especially coming off a poor week and on this course. I mean, asking for him to turn it around quickly, it's a little scary. So he might get really low ownership. He was 8th year back in 2014, was 6th year back in 2011. So he has played here before too. But like you said, he's cooled off a bit. I mean, he really has. He took a long break after, I think it was the Farmers, and then played last week. Really did not impress at all. So I would side with Casey. I think this is a good setup for Paul Casey. Don't ask me if he's going to win again, because I'm done predicting Casey wins. But again, for DFS, we're talking DFS. I'll probably take him. He'll probably be chalky again, but that's fine. I don't mind eating some chalk. So next one, and this is one I know you don't like, but Webb Simpson versus Byung-Hun Nam.
I think when I saw the list of 1v1s you sent over, immediately it was Webb Simpson because I had seen one or two things, but then I dug a little deeper, and I think I'm on Byung-Hun between these two. So I know he's more your favorite. And Webb's been playing pretty well overall, but I think, again, the trend has been a little downward from the plateau. So if anything, I'd be looking at On to kind of show up. But again, he's a little volatile. But he's played well here before. He's been playing well recently. He's kind of just a middle of the road guy. 8,400 seems expensive for him, but again, in this field, it's a good field at the top. But when you get to that middle round, he's probably one of the better guys in the mid level.
Yeah, I mean, Byung-Hun definitely played well his last time out. I'm never a huge Webb Simpson guy, and I don't know. He was kind of getting it done with the putter a little bit. I don't know if you want to rely on like a Webb Simpson hot putter. So I'm fine taking a little Byung-Hun. He'll be more of a GPP target for me here, I think, just because I don't know. He's kind of inconsistent too. Like his around the green game is hit or miss. So he's had it going with the irons though. I do like him as a player, although I really wish he'd got it done in Phoenix a couple years ago. But whatever. I'd be on Byung-Hun over Webb Simpson. Next one. This is an interesting one because I think a lot of people are going to struggle with this one this week. Luke List versus Jason Duffner.
It's tough because, like you said, this is more of a history conversation plus some flashes of good play recently. Obviously, the List, got into the playoff at Honda. Duffner kind of hot and cold, a couple hot rounds, a couple of bad rounds. Really good history here. I think Duffner is what I would say right away. Just because one of the things I noticed, and Duffner's obviously not a great putter, but I was looking at the course history results, and this is what I'll do sometimes. I'll look to see if a bad putter has happened to putt well here. Because I think if you talk about course history, and obviously there's so much debate about it, I think that putting at particular courses is easier to look at than overall course fit at times. Not that course fit matters less or more, but sometimes it's just hard to determine. Whereas if you have a bad putter that has played somewhere 10 times and they're one of the better putters there, like that, it does say something. Like you can't tell me it doesn't. So I think he's ranked 31st. Yeah, 31st in course history. He's played here 10 times. He's made 9 cuts. This is Jason Duffner, and he ranks 31st in putting. Whereas if you look at him ranking in putting overall, he's actually been putting well this year, but that's not his forte. He's always been a ball striker. He has to hit it close and make 3-footers to win major championships. But he's putted really well at this course. So I think I like him over List.
Yeah, Duffner's course history is pretty ridiculous. Actually, never worse than 28th over his last. I think he said like 9 appearances. So he's played here like every year. 11th last year. He actually, the weird thing is he only has 1 top 10. So he's finished between 28th and 10th 9 straight years in a row. So that's pretty crazy consistency. He was kind of in the mix a little bit last year and fell apart, but oh man, like I'd have a hard time not clicking Jason Duffner this week. I like Luke List though. I mean, he's got like 15 straight rounds of being positive tee to green. He actually opened here really well last year too. He shot a couple low rounds to start. He kind of fell apart over the weekend, but he did play well here. So if people are going to be off List and just think like you can't get it done, I don't mind taking List for GPPs. But yeah, I mean, look, if you just ask me like one line, it's got to be Duffner. It's just crazy consistency. So it's an interesting one to talk about, though.
I mean, it's a good pivot, though. I mean, that's the main thing.
Yeah.
They're the same price. You have to imagine if for 7,800, if you just look at the data, if you look at the numbers, and not even the deep data, just the overview that we discussed, I mean, you're going to take Duffner over List, I imagine. So I think ownership-wise, if you do like List and he has and he's going to continue with some of the form that he's shown, why wouldn't you pivot there?
No, and that's the thing. I mean, I do like List's upside this week. I mean, I really feel like if people are just going to write him off as like, okay, he had one good tournament, I think that's a mistake because his short game is vastly improved this year. And he hasn't been putting as bad as he did last year. So his game has improved. And we know the ball striking is elite. We know he's huge off the tee. He's got the rest of it. So, I mean, if he's playing better in the other facets of his game, could see an Adam Hadwin situation where he puts it together this week. Again, well, I mean, he already put it together once. He kind of got unlucky not to win, but I do like that as a tournament pivot. Just keep an eye on ownership projections there. So second last one, Chesson Hadley or Kevin Streelman. Two FGM guys who we've kind of been talking about a lot already this year.
I think I got to let Hadley come back to me. I know he's had some history here. I think I got to see a little more. Just in terms of consistency, Streelman has kept it a little level, whereas Hadley, you don't know what you're going to get right now. Not that he doesn't have the ability or he hasn't flashed it a round or two here, but it just, is he going back? Is he regressing to his mean? You hope not because he's been playing so well. But, a guy like Streelman is probably, setting a new baseline for himself over the past couple months. So in terms of consistency, I think it's easy for me to see that Streelman, who I believe made our first class again,
I think he's
top
just
first in
in
the second class. Yeah, first guy in the second class. We only have him ranked a couple ahead of Hadley, so again, they're perfect examples of one-on-ones. And it's funny because I know you didn't look at the guide before you put these together, but a lot of the guys actually are right by each other, so they're pretty good estimates. Yeah,
I mean, I knew Hadley fell a bit. Look, if I'm making one lineup, I'm going Streelman. I will say this: Chesson Hadley is like 100 or 110 to 1 in the betting odds right now. I like him for a bet. I mean, I'm definitely taking some of that. I mean, that's just too big. It's too big a drop. Like, he was 55 to 1 a couple tournaments ago. He just missed one cut. And I mean, he's got some course history here. So
and he missed it on the number. He missed it on the number, I think.
He might have. No, didn't he blow up at Honda? I think he has like a really bad round.
You might be right.
It doesn't. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It was one tournament, right? I mean, he's been playing well for a while, so I do like that number for a bet. But I agree. If I'm doing one DFS lineup, it's Streelman. So last one, kind of different one. More guys maybe probably not going to get talked about too much this week, but CT Pan versus Ben Martin.
Yeah, we went over a quick overview before we came on the air, and it was interesting because Ben Martin kind of pops up here and there, and I've been more of a fan in the past of Martin when I've decided on either of these guys. I've never really played Pan too much, and the one thing I'd say is he's definitely playing consistently well. That's Pan. In terms of what I'm seeing, from the baseline and the trends that I'm looking at, he's definitely a bit above where he's been. And anytime I see a player get above their baseline and then plateau for a significant amount of time, that shows to me that they're kind of stepping up the game. And then the one thing, of course, that's always been a problem for him is he just can't putt. But at the same time, I'm looking at a 10-round strokes game putting moving average, and it looks like he's bottomed out, pretty much close to his negative baseline, like his worst that he can do. So if he's getting to a point where he's a little better of a golfer and he's bottomed out, it might be a little too early this week, but I wouldn't be surprised if within a week or two you get a really strong finish from Pan.
So there you go. He's in Lucas Glover territory for putting. It can't get worse, people. I like Pan too. I mean, the ball striking has been really good. I think his course is pretty good for him too. I think he's like top 20 driving accuracy and greens in regulation. Ben Martin's been kind of all over the place. He has flashed some upside, though, so I do kind of like both these guys as tournament targets, so I included them here. I think Pan is really interesting. I actually he's like 150, 160 to 1, too, so maybe as a top 5 bet, too. I really don't hate that because, like Steve said, if he just flashes a little bit of putting, I mean, it's there. Maybe a top 10 or something, too. But I do kind of like both these guys. A little bit interesting for DFS, so... let's just move back to the field because, I mean, obviously there's definitely a plethora of players we didn't talk about. I mean, at the top, we'll come back to Tiger Woods, but anyone else in that sort of top 20% of the field that you really feel strongly about, or is it kind of we touched on everyone already that you really like?
Well, let's talk about a couple guys that have been pretty popular the last couple of weeks, and that's Finau and Woodland. Personally, I've cooled off on Woodland. Last week I had him. We did him to top 10 in bets. Obviously, he was nowhere near it. I originally had him higher, and I just was like, you know what? It's over for Woodland. A lot of these guys, it's cyclical. Not like he's not going to play well again soon. What I mean is, these guys, what they do, they play well at a high level for a little bit and then they cool back down. That's just what happens because not everyone can be, Justin Thomas right now, Tiger Woods, how he used to be, all these players, like we mentioned earlier. So I think Woodland's just kind of down a little bit. He's getting a lot of love for the consistency, which sometimes is a problem with modeling out players. So we always look at the trend numbers. I mean, you look at, he's ranked 14th in form if you average over the last 12 events, but he's 108th in trend. So you got to be careful when you look at numbers like that. And then the other guy is Tony Finau. And, he's been a guy that I think everyone is just waiting for him to take a little bit of a step in the right direction because he does so many things so well. He's 7th in our secret stat. He's 6th in overall form. But despite I think he finished 3rd here last year after a couple bad starts at this course, we all know that Bermuda is just not where you can earn your money with Finau. So, again, he made it in the first class. I'm just pointing these two guys out because the model that we have does like him. The form has been there, but I'm just not sure I'm ready for them this week.
Yeah, and I mean, if you watched the tournament last year, he basically lost it because he couldn't sink putts. And, I thought he played really steady at Riviera, didn't get it done. Ball striking really wasn't there last week. He's kind of all over the place. I've never really bet for Tony Finau over the past year or so. Like, honestly, I know everyone's been on him, but I've never really. He just doesn't quite seem to have the rest of that game, that all-around game yet, to get over the hump, which is fine. I mean, he's still a really good player, but I'm not going to pay 9,400 for him here. I'm fine fading him. I mean, Woodland, I can't disagree with that at all. I mean, I actually kind of surprised he's playing here because his game seems like it's on the downtrend, so why not take a week off? But he's obviously a past winner of this event too, so that's probably factoring into it. I do feel like those guys going on the downtrend might make Adam Hadwin a little bit chalky, but yeah, I'm pretty much on board with both those takes. I don't really feel the love too much to pay up for either of them. So what about some of these other names who are maybe not in great form, but like if we just go by name-wise, they really probably should getting a little bit more respect. And I'm talking about Brandon Grace, Matt Kuchar, Louis Oosthuizen, could probably even go down to Charles Schwartzel at 7,500. And then also one other guy that we haven't talked about, a guy I really like this week, Cameron Smith. First of all, are you on any of the South Africans? Do they just pure GPP plays, or is anyone?
Interestingly enough, and there's one other guy that I think is a very, very popular name that you didn't mention that I have written down. We'll get to him. For the South Africans, I like Oosthuizen this week more than you liked him last week. I didn't. I looked pretty stupid. I looked pretty stupid day one when he came out blistering. I was rooting for you, but then obviously he did what Oosty does. But yeah, I don't have a problem with him. Cameron Smith we do have in the first class. He's ranked fourth in form, 13th in trend. So anytime you're in good form and trending up, 30th in history. He's made 5 straight cuts overall. He's made both cuts here. Nothing too crazy in terms of finishes, but at least he's performed here. And it is a demanding course. So I think courses where it's difficult can tell a lot more when it comes to course history. I think if guys have sustained success at a course that's difficult, it says a lot to me because it's easy to get beat up by these difficult courses. So if you're able to stay in it, and he's shown that. Let's see, what else? Other than that, I mean, Oosthuizen and Smith are the only two there. I mean, Grace, I don't love. I don't. He had he had one pretty strong finish recently. I don't love him overall. Schwartzel, kind of just back-to-back finishes, 48th last week, 68th at Genesis. Kuchar, same thing. I mean, they're not being talked about a lot because you look at their finishes and they're not on par with what you'd expect to see. I mean, Kuchar 58th, 26th, 62nd.
Kuchar's been bad too. Like he's been legitimately striking the ball poorly. Like he's not just putting bad or something. Like he's not playing well. He's not playing anywhere close to what he normally does. So he does have a great course history here. I guess I'll throw that out there. But I agree. I mean, he's not in Kuchar form. He's not backdoor in top 10s every week. Let's put it that way. So, I agree. I mean, I'm not a Matt Kuchar. Usti, the one thing I'll throw out this week, and why I'll probably talk myself into some exposure or something, he's top 5 in strokes gained off tee last week. Like, he's driving it really well. He's putting fine. He's really not putting poorly. if the rest of his game just clicks a little bit, I mean, you could see some low rounds here. I mean, he's got a couple of facets of his game clicking right now. It's just he's just got to straighten out the irons a bit. That sounds like a big thing, but at the same time, it doesn't take much. I mean, with a guy who we know can strike the ball well. So I agree. I mean, I think out of those guys, he's probably the most interesting. I love Cameron Smith this week. We talk about this being an all-around course. He scrambled really well, Riviera. He putted pretty well there. He wasn't quite ball striking as well as some of the other players there, but again, a little bit of a bump in ball striking for him here, and you could see big things. And he's not really a long hitter, so I do like this course for him too. I think it's a good setup for him. I'm gonna have lots of exposure to 8K most likely. Kevin Na's kind of interesting there, but I mean, I got to side with Cam Smith over Na, especially if Na's going to be semi-chalky, which it feels like Kevin Na's always chalky. I don't know why, but anyone else we missed? I mean, there is one player in the 8K region that was ranked really highly, wasn't he? Is that the player you're going to talk about?
I don't think so, but I will bring him up since we talked about him beforehand. I'll go with him, and then I'll go with the next guy. Obviously, Adam Scott is who I think you're referencing there. We have him ranked a lot higher than you probably expected. 8,700, I think, is a good price for him. He's dropped back in the world rankings. He's 58th, which is pretty far down, but he's number 1 in secret stat. He's number 1 in trend. We do have him 10th in form overall. I mean, he's just, it's the same Adam Scott, but he's not playing average with the same Adam Scott. He's actually hitting it really well with the crappy putter. So again, it's tough to back him because you know you're not going to get the short game and putting that you need, but if it could be one of those scenarios where the guy's playing really well, he's really striking it well, he comes out, he has a hot putter, and he gets you a strong finish. I don't know that he's ready to win yet, but it wouldn't surprise me if Scott gets in there with the top 10 this week. So I think he's an interesting guy. I think you're going to get phenomenal ownership on him with the amount of names that are at the top. I don't think a lot of people are going to trust Scott. Maybe I'm wrong there. Again, wait to see what Bobby says. But moving on from him, the one name that I wrote down and I circled him and gave him a check mark because I looked up his odds, and that's Brandt Snedeker. Brandt Snedeker at 7,500 and even more so 66 to 1 to win. We have him in towards the top of our second class. I like him a lot this week. There's a good chance I'll give a free one out to you guys. He's probably going to make a showing on the FGM bets. At 66 to 1, I'll probably have him to win, and I'll probably take him top 5 and top 10 just because I like what I'm seeing. And I was just surprised when I saw the number. I'd expect him in this field with some of the other names, to be 40 to 1, maybe even 50 to 1. So to see him drop back like that and to see the trends that I'm used to looking at for players when I make these picks, what are your thoughts there?
He was striking the ball well before Honda, and a few people liked him there, and obviously he crapped the bed, but not that much has changed, and he's got better course history here. Like, he's got an 8th and a 4th. Now these were back 6-7 years ago, but still, he's got better course history. So I'm kind of on board. Definitely like it at 7,500 for DFS, because we talked about Streelman, we talked about guys like Duffner and Chesson Hadley. Best editor is going to be like 5-6% owned in most likelihood. So, and he's a guy we know can get it going with the putter too. So I like it. I mean, I really do. There's not much has changed since I kind of liked him at Honda. So why wouldn't I like him here, especially for in good odds and a good DFS price. So I like it. I mean, I was almost going to put him in the 1 versus 1s to be honest, but I figured I'd stay with the chalky guys and not go off script. But it's an interesting name and kind of a good one, not to end on, but a good one to move on from, because I mean that range is going to be. I think there's going to be a few chalky guys, and I think Snedeker could be a good way to kind of get off some of the chalk there. So let's. I mean, first of all, is there any other mid-price guys below you want to throw? I couldn't think of anyone. I mean, Garrigus at 6,800 is always kind of interesting. I've talked about Blaine Barber being a good Florida player. Martin Flores, I believe, has cooled off a little bit, but 6,700. I guess he's okay. I don't know. I don't really have anyone super special like under 6,800 this week. Do you?
Under that number, I mean, Michael Kim, if you want to throw a really, really long dart, he hasn't been playing well, but I have, seen some things trend upwards. The only other guy just above 7,000 I didn't mention, bottom of our first class, was Charles Howell III. He was a guy that I thought was interesting. Other than that, I'm not sure. You got anyone?
I really don't. I mean, Sun Kang was playing pretty well before Honda too. I kind of liked him there. again, he just missed the cut. I mean, not that much has changed, but I mean, he's still Sun Kang. He could shoot 80. Could open with like a 66 though too. So I guess for tournaments you got to look at Hudson Swafford. Good player, hasn't been doing much, but at 6,800 again, I think you could consider him for tournaments here. So that's probably the way I'd go. I'm not going to go back on the Rory Sabatini train, but I mean Swafford, maybe Kang. I mean that's kind of where I'm looking. Can't see anyone under that I love. I mean pricing's a little bit tighter on DraftKings, so I mean I'll give him credit for that. But let's talk about Tiger a little bit. I mean, do you feel like he's going to compete this week, or do you think he's just going to save it for Bay Hill?
I think you're going to see a good amount from him. Again, it's a tough course. He hasn't played here. I'm not sure what you're going to get from him. I think you're going to. I don't think the finish is going to be exactly where you're going to be excited, but I do think he will play. I think he'll play well and excite some people and have some great shots. But I don't think you're going to get a big week of top 10 finish and he contends to win. I mean he could. A lot of people are saying a lot of good things about it. It's just my hunch that he's going to play well enough to keep form, and then I think a lot. Let's see if he can take over at Bay Hill like he's done in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like he's playing here just to get reps. It's a tough course. I feel like you're probably more likely to see like a Farmer's performance where he's kind of hugged around the cut, maybe had one good round, but. We'll see. I mean, I'm just glad he's in the field. It's going to be cool. I mean, he's never played this course. He's definitely playing better. I mean, he's definitely improving week to week, which is really cool. So I do feel like Bay Hill might be the week where we finally get to see him in contention. But who knows? Maybe it'll be this week. Going to be pumped either way. I'm not going to have any exposure at 9,500, by the way, on DraftKings. That's too rich for my blood. But, maybe next week. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe that'll be the first time I click on Tiger Woods this year. Let's end. I mean, let's actually make some predictions this week. I think we forgot to last week, but who you got for a winner this week? Give me a winner, and then give me someone out of the blue, maybe like top 20, top 10, who's not going to be talked about much.
Well, yeah, I think moving forward, since we missed last week, we should really make a rule. Let's pick our winner, our contender, and a dark horse. I think they do that on Golf Channel a lot, so let's go with that.
Okay, we'll copy them, sure.
we'll go with that. We'll come up with some better names, but I'm going Sergio. I'm going Snedeker. And then again, if we're going darts, the only guy I have is Michael Kim. Oh, you know what? Patrick Rogers.
Okay, I like that. Patrick Rogers, yeah. Ball striker's course, get it up and down a little bit. That's interesting. Actually, we didn't talk about him either. So, okay, so I'm gonna go. Man, I should have prepared for this. See, this is what happens.
You came out swinging like we got to do this. We got to end.
Oh man, I always talk myself into a winner, and then I talk myself out. I'm gonna go Cameron Smith for winner. I'm not gonna go chalk. I'm gonna go Henrik Stenson for runner-up, and then I'm gonna go CT Pan for a dark horse. I'm gonna say CT Pan finishes top 12. There you go. There you go. I do like CT Pan this week. I think he's gonna flash. So. That's it. That's it, guys. I mean, a couple. I don't know if Steve wants to mention anything about the site. I will just mention that do look for some Masters articles from me coming out on the site for subscribers. Possibly might make some of them free too, but we'll see. Definitely going to do some profiles of players and stuff like that, just to give people a heads up, something to read before Augusta, and hopefully just some information about the players. What they've done at Augusta in the past, some of their run up maybe to this year's event that you can look at. So look for that. I'll probably get started on it this week. Hopefully maybe some out maybe a week from now. It might take a little longer, but we'll see. Anything else about the site you just want to update, Steve, or anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I will tease. Bobby's working on something a little special for the majors or for the Masters. So I'll make sure you two are in contact on that. When it comes to these bigger events, we like to really go all in. So I know he's working on something. I'll keep it a surprise. As for the site, kind of just ticking away at the lineup analyzer. I would say expect Wednesday to get a really, really big boost in terms of performance and what we see there. We got it out there to let people kind of give us some feedback on how it looks, how it performs. It's not really great for picking a model right now, but it just it does work, and we've taken a lot of that feedback, and over the next 24 to 48 hours, we're going to apply that, and we're going to update it, and then get more feedback, and then we're going to make sure that it's a finely tuned machine over the next couple weeks.
Awesome. All right. Have a good Valspar Championship, people. Only about 4 more events till Augusta and the first major. And good luck this week.
Yeah.
Take it easy.
Yeah, hey, cooler than the Tampa breeze. We be doing things that you can't believe. What the people demand is me. Wonder Corp, ESTBPG, my G. I float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Cold as Anderson, Silver talk shit like Ali. He asked if I'm the best in Tampa, yeah, nigga, probably. And ain't no about the repercussions if they try to rob me. Yeah, the world is steady changing, but it's not gonna end.